Enjoying my pool, Xavier? This is where your paradise ends. My name is Julian Vance, and 4 weeks ago I found out my wife Monica was cheating on me in our own home. Her bold lover liked to swim in our pool while I was at work. So, I chose to give him a little surprise in the water when he jumped in. I had busted my back for 18 years in construction, climbing from apex builders to running big projects worth millions just to pay for our dream home. I had the perfect life, a stunning wife, a house the neighbors envied, and a pool so clean it could be in a magazine. I thought I was living the dream, but the truth hit me like ice water. It was a Tuesday in September when it all changed. I left the Henderson site early, hoping to surprise Monica. Maybe grab some steaks, fire up the grill, and act like we still cared about spending time together. I pulled into the driveway at 2:24 p.m. sure Monica wouldn't be home for another 3 hours from her marketing job. The house looked perfect as always, but something felt wrong. The backyard gate was cracked open. That gate was always shut. Monica made sure of it. We didn't drop 55 grand on a pool to let random kids wander in. When I walked out back, I saw ripples in the pool. Not from leaves or the cleaner. These were human. My gut sank like a stone. The deck told me what I didn't want to know. 2 fancy striped towels I'd never seen. A pricey wine bottle with a foreign label. And glasses marked with sunset pink lipstick. My blood went cold. Here's the thing about Monica. She's worn the same Chanel Rouge Red lipstick for 9 years. I know because I've bought it for her enough times to remember. But what I saw that day wasn't Rouge Red. It was sunset pink. The shade women pick when they're trying to look younger than they are. A men's Audemars Piguet sat forgotten on the side table. Not the cheap mall kind, but the real deal. The kind that costs more than most people's cars. I dipped my fingers into the water. It was still warm. Whoever had been swimming hadn't left long ago. That's when the pieces started lining up one after another like dominoes. Monica had been different lately. Not in obvious ways. She's far too clever for that. But in small ways only a husband of 14 years would notice. She'd begun dressing sharper for work, trading her plain business suits for tailored outfits that showed curves I hadn't seen in a while. Her phone had become glued to her hand, and she'd taken to answering calls in the other room. Her voice low and guarded like she was planning a heist. Working late rolled off her tongue with practiced ease. Budget meetings, client presentations, strategy sessions, always something new to explain why she wouldn't be home until after dinner. And when she did come home, she looked perfect, polished, not like someone buried under stress. And then there was the pool. God, that should have been the first warning sign. 4 months, I'd come home to find it spotless, water clear, chemical balance exact, pH perfect. But Monica hates the pool. Always has. She said for years it's too much work, too expensive, too cold, even in August. She hasn't set foot in it in 4 summers. And yet somehow it was flawless every single day. The truth hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. But under the hurt, something colder began to settle in. Monica had made one mistake. She'd gotten sloppy. And if there's one thing I learned in 18 years of construction, it's that when people get sloppy, the whole thing eventually comes crashing down. 4 weeks after that discovery, I started paying attention like my life depended on it. Monica's work stress excuse about the Peterson account was complete bull crap. Her job selling ad space to local businesses is about as stressful as a Sunday nap. The woman sells advertising space for pizza joints and dry cleaners, not nuclear weapons, to foreign governments. But suddenly she was acting like she was running Fortune 500 campaigns and carrying classified documents in her purse. And sweet Jesus, had she started dressing differently. My wife used to roll out of bed looking like she'd rather be anywhere else, throwing on whatever blouse wasn't wrinkled. Conservative, professional, boring as watching paint dry. But somewhere around August, she discovered that clothes could actually fit her body instead of covering it up like fabric tents. The skirts got shorter, blouses got tighter, heels got higher. The phone situation really should have tipped me off. Monica had always been one of those people who forgot their phone existed, leaving it charging in the bedroom and missing calls for hours. But suddenly, it was glued to her hand like technological growth. She'd get texts during dinner and actually check them. Something that would have been unthinkable 6 months earlier. And the calls. Dear God, the calls. They started happening around 9:30 p.m. right after we'd settled in to watch whatever mindless TV show was supposed to pass for entertainment. Monica would glance at her phone, frown like she was receiving urgent Pentagon communications, and excuse herself to take this in the kitchen. I can't talk long, she'd whisper, and I'd strain to hear more while pretending to care about reality TV. No, he's right here. I know. Tomorrow. Okay. Same time. When I asked who was calling so late, she'd wave it off with practiced casualness. Well, just Mom. You know how she gets when she can't sleep. Or Brenda's having issues with Dave again, right? Because Monica's mother, who goes to bed at 8 p.m. sharp every night like she's got military discipline, was suddenly developing insomnia. And Brenda, who'd rather eat glass than discuss marriage problems with anyone, was apparently turning into Dr. Phil. But the real kicker was what I noticed about our pool. Every single day I'd come home from work, usually around 6, and that pool would be absolutely perfect. Not just clean but magazine cover perfect. Chemical levels balanced like someone had a PhD in pool maintenance. I know. Pool maintenance. It's real work that takes a couple hours minimum. You've got to test chlorine levels, adjust pH, clean skimmers, vacuum the bottom, brush the walls. Monica treats pool maintenance like hazardous waste disposal, complete with complaints and dramatic sighing. Yet somehow it had been pristine every day for months. I decided to play hooky and catch my cheating wife in the act. The plan was simple. Leave for work Friday morning like normal, drive to the coffee shop about a mile away, wait until Monica's car pulled out, then circle back and park down the street for surveillance. Friday morning started like any other day in suburban hell. Monica was up at 6 o'clock going through her elaborate beauty routine that had expanded from 20 minutes to an hour and a half. I made coffee, pretended to read sports, and listened to her moving around upstairs like she was preparing for a photo shoot. Big presentation today? I asked when she came downstairs looking magazine perfect. You know how it is, she said, not meeting my eyes while grabbing her purse. Peterson account being demanding and Johnson wants everything perfect. She kissed my cheek, a quick distracted peck that felt about as passionate as a handshake, and headed for the garage. The coffee shop was perfect for phase 1. Big windows facing the street, decent Wi-Fi, and coffee strong enough to keep me alert. Monica's silver Honda passed by at exactly 8:05 a.m., right on schedule. At 9:15 a.m., that same Honda came cruising back through the intersection, moving slow like someone making sure the coast was clear. Time for phase 2. I parked 4 houses down behind a massive oak tree that provided perfect cover while giving me clear view of our driveway. At exactly 9:25 a.m., a silver SUV that definitely wasn't Monica's Honda pulled into my driveway. Outstepped the most stereotypical piece of crap I'd ever seen. Early 30s gym rat with artificially perfect physique and shirts so tight it might as well have been painted on. Showing off muscles that had clearly never been used for actual labor, just for looking pretty in bathroom mirror selfies. He walked up to our front door like he owned the place and punched in our security code, the one I'd chosen because it was Monica's birthday, like he'd done it 100 times before. The front door opened before he finished entering the numbers. Monica appeared and threw her arms around this a-hole like he was a soldier returning from war. They kissed right there in our doorway. Not a quick peck, but a full-on grab each other's faces movie star kiss that made my vision go red around the edges. Then they disappeared inside my house for about 10 minutes while I sat in my truck feeling like I'd been punched by a professional heavyweight boxer. At 9:37 a.m. they came out the back door onto our deck. Monica was wearing a red bikini I'd never seen before. Tiny, expensive-looking, the kind worn by women who want to be noticed, not by wives supposedly stressed about budget meetings. Mr. Wonderful had stripped his swim trunks that probably cost more than I make in a day, carrying expensive wine and acting like he was starring in his own music video. He dove into my pool like he owned it. The pool I'd saved for, planned for, sweated over, spent countless weekends maintaining and countless dollars heating. This steroid-enhanced pretty boy was doing laps in my water like it was his personal Olympic training facility. Monica slipped in after him and I watched them splash around like teenagers at summer camp, laughing and swimming up to each other for underwater kisses that made me want to vomit. The worst part, they looked genuinely happy in a way Monica and I hadn't in years. She was animated, playful, younger somehow, like this a-hole had found a remote control to her personality and cranked the brightness to maximum. Xavier Thorne. I remembered him now from Monica's office Christmas party last year. Some fitness trainer who'd spent the evening flexing through conversations and hitting on anything in a skirt. I'd written him off as harmless, just another gym rat with more muscles than brains. Apparently, I'd been wrong about the harmless part. That night, Monica came home at exactly 6 p.m. looking perfectly normal and completely innocent. She kissed my forehead, asked about my day, started making dinner like she was auditioning for Wife of the Year instead of Adulteress of the Century. "How was work?" she asked, stirring something on the stove. "Fine," I said, watching her perform this domestic charade. "How about you?" "Oh, you know," she said with dismissive wave. "Same old Peterson account drama. Nothing too exciting. Nothing too exciting. Right. Just an afternoon playing house with her personal trainer in our backyard while I was supposed to be safely at work. None the wiser. I'd seen enough to know this wasn't just an affair. This was complete betrayal of everything we'd built together, carried out in my own home with my own stuff while I worked my A off to pay for it all. Here's what 18 years in construction teaches you. If you want to tear something down properly, you better know exactly where to place the charges. Rush the job and you'll end up buried under rubble. But take your time, study the structure, find weak points, and you can bring down the whole damn building exactly where and when you want. I called in sick for the first time in 4 years and spent the morning at Best Buy buying surveillance equipment. I bought 6 cameras about the size of thumb drives that could record in 4K with audio for up to 12 hours, plus wireless router booster and 2 TB external hard drive. I spent the afternoon strategically placing cameras around the house like demented Easter bunny, living room behind picture frame, kitchen behind coffee maker, master bedroom inside digital clock, and 2 cameras with perfect pool views. But I needed professional help for the really damaging stuff. I called Dominic Vance, who owed me a favor from our college days. Dominic had done police work before going private, specializing in cheating spouse cases. "Julian freaking Vance," he said when he picked up. "Please tell me you're not calling because you need bail money. Worse, I need a private investigator who doesn't ask too many questions about methodology." We met at Murphy's Tavern and I laid out the whole story while Dominic listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes. "You need documentation," he said when I finished. "Photos, videos, financial records, communication logs, but we also need to follow the money trail. I'm betting your wife's been spending marital assets on him." Over the next 3 weeks, Dominic earned his fee like a champ. While I gathered video evidence of their Tuesday and Friday pool parties, he uncovered financial devastation that made my stomach drop. Monica had been using our joint credit cards to fund her affair for months, treating Xavier to dinners at restaurants I couldn't afford, buying him clothes from stores I'd never heard of, even paying for a weekend getaway that cost more than I made in a month. "Now look at this," Dominic noted, pointing to credit card statements. "Romantic dinner at Le Mirage, $450. New workout clothes from Lululemon, $600. Weekend at Ritz-Carlton Resort, $3,500. The real bombshell was property records. 2 months ago, Monica tried to take out a second mortgage on your house for $120,000. The paperwork shows the contractor for supposed home improvements, Thorn Performance LLC, Xavier's business. Monica hadn't just been having an affair. She'd been planning to financially destroy our marriage to fund her new life. Bank records show Monica's been moving money from your savings to a private account. She's stolen about $20,000 over the past 6 months. But I wanted more than evidence. I wanted satisfaction. That's when inspiration struck from my nephew Leo's science project. Leo had been raising bullfrog tadpoles, and his mom was begging someone to take them before she flushed the whole ecosystem. I volunteered to solve her problem. Friday morning, I waited for Monica to leave, then set up my amphibian surprise. I relocated Leo's collection, plus additional frogs from 3 pet stores to my pool. When Xavier arrived for his usual session and dove in without checking the water first, the scream that came out was worth every penny. Picture a grown man bursting from water with 3 bullfrogs clinging to his chest and dozens of tadpoles stuck to his back. Pure terror on his face as he flailed around while big bullfrogs followed him like slow-motion hunters. Monica was screaming in mortification as her traumatized lover scrambled out, slipped on a particularly large bullfrog, and went down hard on his perfectly sculpted best part. He lost his expensive swim trunks to the murky depths and had to escape wearing my wife's beach towel and whatever remained of his shattered ego. But the fool came back the following Tuesday like nothing happened. Time for escalation. I upgraded to reptiles from Snake Mike's exotic pet store. 3 snapping turtles. Mean as hell but won't actually hurt anybody. 6 corn snakes, completely harmless but scary enough to give nightmares. And for the grand finale, a 2-foot baby Kimmin. When Xavier dove in again Tuesday morning, the scream made the frog incident sound like church choir. He was doing hybrid freestyle panic stroke, trying to avoid turtles while staying away from snakes until he reached deep end and came face to face with the baby caiman floating like miniature lake monster. The sound wasn't even human. Pure primal terror as he launched himself out like he'd been shot from cannon, immediately crawling toward the house while Turtle followed him. It took them 45 minutes to clear the area with Xavier wrapped in towels and shaking like Chihuahua and Thunderstorm. After consulting retired Judge Sterling about legal strategy versus stupid revenge, I decided on direct confrontation. No more animals, just good old-fashioned showing up at exactly the right moment. Friday morning, I gave them 20 minutes to get comfortable in their poolside paradise, then drove my truck right into my own driveway where Xavier couldn't miss it. I stepped out of shadows by the tool shed as he was preparing to dive. "Enjoy my pool, Xavier," I said, my voice carrying across the deck with calm authority that comes from finally holding all the cards. He froze at W's edge, suddenly looking like deer in headlights. Monica gasped and nearly dropped her wine glass, face going pale as she realized her perfect secret had been blown wide open. "I'm not talking to you right now, honey," I said when Monica started to speak. "I'm talking to your boyfriend who seems to think my pool is his personal playground." "Look, man," he said, attempting casual while his voice cracked. "This isn't what it looks like." "Really?" I stepped closer, pulling out my phone and opening camera app. "Because it looks like you're about to go swimming in my pool with my wife, using my towels and drinking my wine." Color drained from his face as he realized I was recording. "I've been watching you two for weeks," I continued. "Photos, videos, timestamps, license plate numbers, the whole package. Stay away from my wife. Stay away from my house. Stay away from my life, because if I see you here again, the next conversation won't be nearly as friendly." He was practically running by the time he reached his SUV, peeling out like his A was on fire. That evening, I arranged everything on our dining room table like evidence in courtroom. Surveillance photos, financial records documenting her theft, divorce papers. Judge Sterling had helped me prepare. When Monica saw what was spread across the table, her confident demeanor crumbled like a house built on sand. I walked her through each piece of evidence. The $450 dinner at Le Mirage, the $600 in workout clothes delivered to Xavier's apartment, the $3,500 resort weekend she'd claimed was visiting her sister, the attempted $120,000 mortgage fraud, the $20,000 stolen from our savings. "You've committed multiple felonies, Monica," I said as she sobbed. "That the only reason you're not in handcuffs is because I'm feeling generous." She signed the divorce papers with shaking hands, officially ending our marriage and granting me the house, savings, everything I'd worked for while she was screwing around. 4 months later, I was standing in my backyard watching koi's swim in water that had never been clearer. I demolished the pool and built a Japanese garden with modest koi pond. The pool had never been the problem. It was just the stage where my marriage died. Monica's downfall had been swift and complete. The divorce left her with nothing. She was living in a studio apartment, working double shifts to survive. Xavier had disappeared to another state once his sugar mama went broke. Last week, Detective Henderson called. Monica had been arrested for credit card fraud, apparently continuing her criminal career with stolen account information. He asked if I had documentation of fraudulent charges during our marriage. I was happy to help their investigation. The garden taught me that endings can be beautiful if you rebuild on your own terms. Every morning I sit by my koi pond drinking coffee, watching fish navigate their small world with contentment. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well while people who wronged you continue destroying themselves with their own choices. The pool was gone, but the foundation remains.